what's happening is we're in such a time right now on the planet, and of course, right now in the snake shedding and going into the next Chinese New Year of the fire horse, is we are going through identity shifts,
Yeah.
literally identity shifts. We're shedding the old us. And people think, oh, let's just take, for example, I want to get healthy. I want to lose weight, or I want to eat better, or I'm going to drink less soda, or I'm not going to drink wine, or whatever the heck it is. We come up with the idea in our head. Wouldn't it be cool? Let me just do that. I'm just going to do that for myself. But just like a New Year's resolution, it doesn't last because it's just from the mind. What needs to happen to truly shift is that we go through a metamorphosis. And the metamorphosis is when it's a full body change.
Welcome to the Anniston Riekstins Show. This space is created for the woman coming home to her voice, her power, her way. For the woman remembering who she really is, beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the world's expectations. I'm Anniston, transformational guide, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and creator, here to walk beside you, to share stories, wisdom, and energy that guide you back home. Here, we lead from the inside out. We create from overflow, not hustle. We rise not by becoming someone else, but by remembering who we've always been. This isn't just a podcast, it's a homecoming. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. Before we begin today's episode, I want to tell you why this conversation feels so special to me. I met Michelle Chalfant about 6 months ago through a mutual friend, and it was one of those moments that felt like recognition at first sight. I didn't feel like I was meeting someone new. I felt like I was remembering someone I already knew. Her energy, her presence, her way of being felt deeply familiar, and she has been such a blessing in my life ever since. Michelle is the best-selling author of The Adult Chair and the creator of a powerful framework that helps people move out of unconscious reaction and into grounded, intentional response. Her work is rooted in emotional maturity, self-responsibility, and real embodiment, not theory, not bypassing, but real life. What I love so much about Michelle is that she truly walks her talk. She is a living example of the work she teaches, and the way she teaches it is incredibly relatable, actionable, and doable. This is not about perfection. It's about doing the work. And when you do the work, you get the reward. Her process teaches you how to respond instead of react, how to get a handle on your emotions, and how to stop letting old trauma patterns and limiting beliefs dictate how you see the world, how you show up in it, and ultimately what your future looks like. She doesn't just help you identify these patterns, she gives you tools to actually alchemize them. And that, my sisters, is where the power is. I have been so excited to share Michelle with this community because I know how deeply supportive her work can be for anyone who is committed to growth, healing, and personal responsibility without shame. This conversation is grounded, honest, incredibly practical, and I'm so honored to share it with you. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. I am so excited that you are here, and we have an incredible guest with us today. Michelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Anniston. I'm so delighted to be with you, as always.
Well, they've all just heard me gush about you and all of the amazing, 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 not only achievements, but just things that you've experienced in your life and how you give back and share of those experiences. But I just want to say before we kick off and share with you that when I met you, it was really one of the few times in my life where I can honestly say, like, I had that immediate, I know her. It was like, I know her. I felt your energy. I recognized you on such a deep level. And then when I told you about it, you're like, me too. And it was like this profound moment of, I think, of just conscious knowing and conscious connection that supersedes lifetimes. And I don't know, I'm just so blessed to have you in my life. And I'm so
Oh,
happy to have you here.
I'm glad I have a Kleenex. I'm going to start crying. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I know, me too. Yes, everything you said. Absolutely. When I first met you, it was the same way. I was like, wait, I didn't just meet you. I've known you. It was surreal to me. I was like, oh, and I think I did have tears, honestly, when we spoke or
Yeah.
when we hung up. I was like, I love her. I know her. So, yeah, this is so fun to be with you today and just to have you in my life again, I should say.
Again, and we were introduced and connected through friends. So I actually met you before I got to know your work.
which once I read your book and actually got to know your work, it made me love you even more and really feel so profoundly inspired to share this work with my community. Because what I love about what you teach, Michelle, and I know we can get into a little bit more about your background for those that
Mhm.
don't know you yet. But what I love about it is it's so doable. And right now, we are, if anyone's been listening to me, it's all about embodiment. And this is really about not just collecting information anymore. It's about what do you do with it? But
Mhm.
you've been doing the embodiment piece for a very long time. So I'm curious, what in your life happened to inspire the adult chair?
Oh, great. Great question. Several things were going on all at once. Number 1, I've just been someone and people think I'm crazy, but I love doing my personal work. I have loved it since I was a teenager. I remember way back when listening to Tony Robbins cassette tapes when I was a teenager, and I just loved it and I would apply it, and that has never stopped, and I don't believe it ever will. I think it's actually in my chart, Anniston. I just
Oh, yeah.
love to I love to learn and I love to work on myself. So that's number 1. Number 2, I love to work with others and help them to transform. So that has been happening. I became a therapist and a coach, and I have done that for 25 years. And I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I had been doing those 2 paths for, again, 20 or probably at this point in time, 20 some years. And then I met one of my teachers, and I love taking trainings and all the things. And I was sitting in a classroom or in a workshop with one of my teachers many, many years ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago. And she was doing chair work, which as a therapist, that's something it's called gestalt work. You know, you have empty chair and you're putting people in chairs. And she'd said something during this workshop, and she'd said, "Oh, well, come over here and sit in this adult chair." Da 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 da. She was working with someone in the front of the room, and I was like, I can still tell you, I remember it felt like a lightning bolt went right through my body. I was sitting on the couch. I remember that exact moment, and I said, that's what we're all trying to do. We're all
Mhm.
fumbling through life, trying to figure out how to live in this thing called this adult chair. And what is this adult chair? So the adult chair is the part of us, and most of us have glimpses of this. We don't live here all the time, but it's when we're living in consciousness with consciousness in the present moment. We live with fact and truth. This is a big one because most of us live with story and assumption, meaning we're living in the past or the future. Where when we're in our adult, we're very much present moment, looking at what's in front of me right now in this moment without a story around it. That alone can change our life. If we just started asking ourselves, wait, is this 100% fact and truth right now? Most of the time, it's not. In fact, I remember reading a statistic many years ago, and it said 97% of what we fear and what we're making up stories about, they never come true. 97% of things that we think about never happen. So again, so bringing us into this adult chair, I thought, wow, this is where we learn how to set boundaries and we realize we have choices and we can go this way or that way, or stay in the marriage or leave the marriage, or take this job or leave the job, and all the things. And we don't live there very much. We live more from this, what I call, there are 3 chairs in this model: the adolescent chair, which is the egoic perspective, which is our ego's here to keep us safe and alive. And we're very reactionary. So we live more from a place of I've got to do this or else this person's going to be mad at me, or I shouldn't speak up for myself because that makes me uncomfortable or them uncomfortable. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on too much detail there, but that's where I was really inspired because what happened was I took everything that I had learned and everything I was doing with my clients and everything that I had learned from so many teachers and this teacher that I was with at the time and put it all together. So it's like a mishmash of all of this stuff, and that's where the adult chair model actually came from. And in the book, the whole part 2, so the part 1 of the adult chair book is all about the actual model, child, adolescent, adult chair. Part 2 of the book are the 5 pillars. Those 5 pillars are based on 25 years of working with clients. What I found, Anniston, was I spoke about and taught the same 5 things to clients over and over and over and over again. Things like, how do you feel your emotions? How do we manage our triggers? How do we set boundaries? How do we live with self-compassion? And how do we own our reality? So those 5 things I found when people practice them, this is even before I had created the Soul Adult Chair. it brought them into this state of consciousness, this state of present moment awareness. So now I label it under the umbrella of living in your adult chair. Long story long, that's where it all came from.
It's so good. It is so good, and I just love how tangible it is. Michelle and I were recently at an event together, and we snuck away so we could just chit chat and catch up, and she was explaining how you would even sometimes have, like, 3 chairs set up for your clients when they
Uh-huh.
come into the room. So talk to me about that. I want you to share what you shared with me because it was so visual and so, like, life altering in that it takes a very intangible concept and all of a sudden it makes it so real.
Yeah. Well, when you think about when we want to change our lives, it's really hard to do it just from what I call living chin up or just in the head. Like we can try to figure it out. And I think I want a new job or I want a new relationship or I want to get healthy. I want to lose it, whatever it is. You can't do it just from your head. We shift faster and when we're more in a grounded state. So setting up chairs in my office, I found was very grounding for people. They could actually see, feel, hear, and experience what they were going through, and I found that they shifted faster. So what I did was I had 3 chairs in my office. They were there all the time, and once in a while, I would take them down if I was doing something else in my office, but so I had the child chair, which represents the inner child self, which is
Mhm.
all about feeling your emotions and intimacy and vulnerability and your true needs. So there was that, it had a little label, child chair, and then the next to it was the adolescent chair, and that represents the seat of course, the ego, the seat of the survivor, of living in the past and the future, of story and assumption, controller, perfectionist, codependent, all that. And then the adult chair, which I just went over. So clients would walk in the door and I would say, okay, check in. But instead of them mentally checking in with me and saying, oh, well, this went on and this went on, I'd say, check in from the chairs. So it was so
Mhm.
fun. They would come in and say, they would, for example, come and sit in the middle chair and they would say things like, well, I really lost it over the weekend because my kids, da 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 da, or I'm really afraid of this, that I'm going to lose my job because of this and that reason. But I know it's not true, but it's making me scared. And then they get up from that adolescent, sit in the child chair, and I go, talk about your emotions around that. And they talk about their
Yeah.
emotions. And then I'd go, okay, let's move now over to your adult chair. And they would sit there and I'd say, before you answer, just get quiet, tune into the energy of the chair.
Yeah.
They close their eyes and they go, okay. And I'd say, tell me what's true right now in this moment. And they're like, gosh, I just feel really at peace. None of that
Mhm.
other stuff actually even matters.
Mhm.
And people would say all the time to me, they'd say, Michelle, there's literally a different energy in each chair. I'm like, I know. They would sit in the adolescent chair, which was very fast because the ego's got to figure it out. I got to figure this out. Let's go. Let's move, whatever it might be. And the adult is this like anchored, centered perspective in the moment. And when they sat there, Anniston, it was so cool. Their whole reality would change. They'd go,
Yeah.
wait a minute. It's like the lens was just shifted and they'd say, wait, I can't believe I was upset about that. It doesn't even make sense anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's the power of living in your adult chair.
Oh, it's so
It's so cool.
good. Okay, I have a theory and I want to know what you think about this.
Yeah.
So, you and I both share a love for studying from our ancestors and how they used to approach learning and growth and healing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my theory is this, that baked into, not for everyone, but those that were really on the enlightenment path that really wanted to grow, there were certain initiations they would go through at certain points in their life.
Mhm.
And one of them, for instance, would happen when a child was moving into, I think, usually around the age of 12 or 13, and they would go through an initiation into moving from I'm a child to moving from now I'm moving into adulthood and into my wisdom and into my purpose path.
Mhm.
Sometimes in some cultures, they still practice this where, boys and girls, like they'll go on a journey. They might use plant medicine. They go away by themselves for days to process, to release. So we
Mhm.
didn't do any of that. So my theory is there's a lot of uninitiated children walking around in adult bodies. Tell me your thoughts.
100%.
So it's kind of like I'm
Yeah.
looking at these chairs in this situation as you're initiating people into their adulthood. adulthood into, well, really, it sounds like their higher self and connection to a higher vantage point, right?
You nailed it. Really, I see the adult as higher self perspective in human form. That's what it
Yeah.
is. I love that analogy though. I never thought about it like you just said, and it's beautiful. And it's true about like the lineage and who we are and how we go through life. We aren't initiated like we could be. I don't like the word should,
Mhm.
but like we could be and like we did in the past. But yeah, so basically what I've learned is that we are in adult bodies, but very much navigating from this adolescent chair perspective, which is around the emotional age of about a 13-year-old.
Right.
So when you think about it, if I'm overwhelmed, or not me, but if someone's overwhelmed, and I hear this all the time, I know most people hear this kind of thing. If I'm overwhelmed, you'll hear things like, let's go out for a bottle of wine.
Mm.
I brought over a chocolate cake. Like, let me go hit that ice cream. Like, there's like,
Yeah.
think about that perspective just for a moment. That is a younger kid perspective. Like, what would a teenager or a little middle schooler aged kid say? They're doing what they can to numb those emotions. So it's very much a younger perspective. Because if we're in our adult chair, let's think about it. The higher self in human form would say, it would grab hold. If we have the chair visual again, I would grab hold with the hands of my inner child and say, my darling, let's feel these emotions.
Mhm.
Let's sit here and allow the wisdom. Let's see what comes next, but we need to feel this. Let's be in this. That's what the adult would say, because there's
Right.
always something on the other end of that. But when we're in our adolescent or the ego, the ego does not know how to feel an emotion. That's not its job. It's here to keep you alive. It's here to keep you away from your emotions. It doesn't know how to do it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we've gotta get in the conscious mind, the adult mind, and say, "I want to feel these emotions. They feel scary, they're uncomfortable, I'm probably gonna cry, I'm gonna rage, I'm gonna throw something across the room," whatever the heck it is, it's all okay. It's an energy that's moving through us, that's all an emotion is. I have said this for 25 years, I never blame anyone if they don't know how to do it. I don't blame parents, they certainly didn't know how to teach us how to do it. Schools didn't teach us how to do it. How in the world are we supposed to know how to do it? So
Yeah.
we're really all doing the best we can. We really are. We really are based on what we learned and what our parents learned and what they passed on to us. So, but the time is now. Yeah.
The time is now. The time
Yeah.
is now, and this episode is gonna be released towards the end of February, so, here we are, fire horse season, everyone's been
Yeah.
talking about it, right? In this, "Yay, change, we're moving out of this transformation, shedding, into this moving forward." But I think you and I are both in agreement where the transformation actually never stops. When you move into a new energy, you're moving into a new energy to be initiated through. And what does that mean? It means that you're going to be challenged in those areas where you haven't balanced that energy. So let's talk about that. The one is about initiative, taking
Mhm.
initiative. It's about being unique, being different, being the first. It's not about following someone else's path or plan. So, knowing that energy that we are all marching into, give us some advice on what some things that might be coming up and maybe one tool, if you could just share like one tool of how to recognize it when it does, and then what to do with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a big question, but
There's a lot of
there's a
shedding going
lot
on.
there. Maybe just shoot one of the things that might come up and then, use an
One
example.
of the things, oh my goodness, I'm realizing all over the planet because I hear from people that follow me and that write in DMs and emails. They're like, "What the heck is going on?" Everything feels like it's collapsing in my life. Or, why is my marriage not working? Why do
Yeah.
I want to end this relationship? Why do I not like this job anymore? I don't feel like I want to go to work anymore. What's happening? Or, why am I living with anxiety all of a sudden? I
Yeah.
never had anxiety. Where is this coming from? So, again, you wanted one example, but I'm hearing this from people, even myself, like going through, whoa, here's another thing that's showing up in my reality. And I have said this and I will say it till the end of time. Everything shows up for us. Everything that shows up in our reality is here for us, even when it appears in the ego. Because I remember the ego or the adolescent chair, whatever you want to say, but the ego is the only part of us that's going to judge it as being good or bad. Because when
Yeah.
I'm in my adult, I have that higher perspective and I realize everything's entering into my reality to show me more of who I am and how I need to, or how I could change, grow, transcend from that thing that's showing up. So nothing's bad happening to us. It's just things. That's it.
Mhm.
So, what we want to do is, first of all, again, I'm going to go back to the adult chair, the five pillars. We want to own our reality and say, wow, this is happening for me. We have to name the pink elephant in the room, whatever that might be for you. I have a lot of people emailing me and even clients saying, why am I drinking so much? I know that's not right, but I need to say it out loud. Good for you. Have
Yeah.
an awareness around that, or I'm yelling at my kids more than ever, or whatever it might be. Again, so these are all the prickly things that are happening for people right now. Become aware of it. Own it without judgment. Just see it and own it. Go, wow, this is happening because that ownership of it is the first step to change. We want to go through life with blinders on, like, no, I don't want to see that. Don't want to look at that. No, thank you. When we look at it dead on, it's less scary. It doesn't scare us. It's like, okay, now what are the steps to move through that? So own it, breathe.
Yeah.
Don't numb it. Look at it and go, okay, let me just be in it, even just for a few minutes. Set the timer on your phone. People say, oh gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to cry and I won't stop. Or what if it makes me want to feel like I'm going to throw up? I personally heard that quite a bit in my practice because I would push people. I never had anyone throw up. Now, some people have told me their clients have, but let yourself if that's what needs to happen. It is just the movement of energy. What's happening is we're in such a time right now on the planet, and of course, right now in the snake shedding and going into the next Chinese New Year of the fire horse, is we are going through identity shifts,
Yeah.
literally identity shifts. We're shedding the old us. And people think, oh, let's just take, for example, I want to get healthy. I want to lose weight, or I want to eat better, or I'm going to drink less soda, or I'm not going to drink wine, or whatever the heck it is. We make these ideas, we come up with the idea in our head. Wouldn't it be cool? Let me just do that. I'm just going to do that for myself. But just like a New Year's resolution, it doesn't last because it's just from the mind. What needs to happen to truly shift is that we go through a metamorphosis. And the metamorphosis is when it's a full body change. That's what's happening to us when we're getting all these prickly moments now, these triggers that are coming up. It's because our soul is initiating us into a new identity. And you cannot move into this new identity. Or you know what? It's more like this, Anniston. It's a new identity, so we think. It's actually the true us, the real us. And we're
100%.
shedding the skin that's not us. And that skin that's not us, the false self skin, which we have many, 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 many layers of that skin. It's scary. It feels uncomfortable. The ego feels like we're naked. Like, hold on, give me that coat. I want to wear that skin. I don't want to go through life without that skin. It's like shed the skin because that's who you really are. And as we're going through that process, which is why we're so prickly, why we're all so triggered right now, it's a beautiful process. And when you breathe through, so that's the one thing you can do the breath. Breathe
Yeah.
in 4 with your belly, hold for 4, exhale for 8 very slowly. You can put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And as you're exhaling, you can say something like, I release what is no longer mine.
Yeah.
Let it go. As the skin peels off of us, it is uncomfortable. It may make you very emotional, and it's okay. Because on the other end of it, it is liberation, it is freedom, it is a new sense of self with more freedom. It's this sense of freedom. That word always comes to me. I just feel
Yeah.
freer.
Oh, that's so good. And you
Yeah.
know what's interesting? So I'll share, I won't go into the detail, but last week, towards the end of the week, I had an experience where it was seemingly a misunderstanding between someone I love and respect and admire. And immediately when it happened, and I felt I was being misunderstood, it was like I had this somatic response, this in my body that it was like it felt like someone like sucker punched me. And I immediately was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. You know what I mean? And I wanted to run. I wanted to avoid. I wanted to do all of the old behaviors. And then I was angry and my mind was spinning stories and projecting. I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. And anyways, so I knew better than to act from that place. I went into like kind of my inner cave. I call it my inner cave, right? And we don't have caves around here to go sit and process. So I went into my own. And it took me a good probably 12 hours for me to really like be able to actually process it clearly. And then what I noticed when I was breathing was that it was all in my left side of my body. It wasn't my right. at all, which I was like, this is feminine wounding. This is like all about not being able to feel like being heard or to communicate clearly or to speak my needs, wants, and desires. And so I decided to do the opposite of what my inner child wanted to do, which was have an open, honest conversation from love to speak my truth, but not with any wanting other than just to do the opposite, right? I didn't need this person to respond in a certain way for me to feel at peace with it. But she did. She responded from honesty and love. And we both ended the conversation laughing, feeling so free from both of our wounds. Like our wounds were doing this dance together, right? And I mean, it was like textbook. And you think, oh, how easy, but man, it felt hard, right? Man, it felt hard. And so this kind of leads me to the next question I have for you, because before we started recording, we were both talking about how we find that when we're birthing something new, it always triggers this metamorphosis for ourselves as the teachers
Right.
to have to master it at a deeper level and to cleanse
Mhm.
at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And so, how have you experienced that? Because I don't think a lot of people think about that when they're stepping out in service as a teacher, healer,
Right.
writer, author, speaker, whatever that is, that we are always being qualified whether we know it or not.
Yeah. So your question is, how has that metamorphosis been for me
Yeah. How
personally?
has that metamorphosis been for you
Oh,
as you're stepping into where you are right now, as you're going deeper in your work?
yeah. Which is why exactly I have this 3-day intensive called Metamorphosis because
It's
realized
perfect.
I realize I've done it so many times over the last several years, and we teach what we've gone through, what we know. So the question is, again, I wanna make sure I'm answering correctly, like, how is it for me? Painful.
Perfect.
It's exactly what you just
Yeah.
shared. Some days excruciatingly painful.
Yeah.
And I look at what is set up for me, hear those words, for
Yeah.
me,
Yes.
out here in this reality out in front of me, so that I am able to walk through fire and help that old me. Well, I mean, it's on the front cover of my book. I've got the caterpillar to the chrysalis to the butterfly.
Yeah.
Think about the amount of energy, and who knows if they're in pain or not, but going from the caterpillar to the chrysalis, I've watched a butterfly come through that chrysalis. It is painful and it
Yeah.
takes so much energy, but there's also rest. So I think about that, and it's been hard. I dismantled my company, gosh, almost 2 years ago as it was, let just about everybody go in the company. It was the most horrible. I had so much grief. I loved these people that worked with me, but there was also this higher knowing, this wisdom that was at first whispering inside of me. And then it went from a whisper to a loud, like, scream. And I didn't feel like I even had a choice at some point. I was like, oh, okay, so we're doing this. And I'm terrified. I don't want to do this. I pushed against it. And things were set up in my reality with money, with people acting a certain way. It was just like the perfect setup. It really was. I said, okay, this is being teed up for me. It is so excruciatingly uncomfortable and painful, but I'm going to walk through it. And it really did feel like I was walking through fire. And I did it, and then on the other end of it, I said, "Oh my god, that was the most beautiful experience." It was
Yeah.
more painful for me doing that than the loss of my father when he died, and I was very close to my father. But the amount of grief that I went through, and it lasted off and on for a year, where I would just cry and, "Oh my god, what did I do?" But here's the interesting thing, speaking of the adult chair model, as we talk
Yeah.
about that, when I was going through the metamorphosis, and let's just call it that because that's what it was, this burning of the old or of the part that's not me. When I would get in the moment, Anniston, I would start laughing. I'm like, "This is so stupid. I can't even believe this is happening. This is insane that this is happening." And I
Yeah.
giggle and say, "Okay, God, this is like the biggest freaking joke you've ever pulled on me. Like, this is
Yeah.
funny." But then when I would drift out of the moment and go into the past or the future is when all the anxiety would come up. How am I gonna
Yes.
do this without them? I don't have anybody. I can't believe that I have to let them go. I love these people. I don't want to do this. Why would you make me do this? This isn't fair. I went through all that. But when I would sit, I remember very specifically, I would sit in my front yard or my backyard, but I'd look outside and I'd watch the birds. And when I'd watch the birds, because I love the birds, and I had this bird feeder and I would watch the birds and I would sit there and go, oh, they're so cute. All of the anxiety would fade away. It was totally gone. And I go, whoa. And then I
Yeah.
would do some deep breath work and I was fine. It was only when I would leave the moment when I'd go into the panic state. So, yeah, and I realize since then, I've had many more, metamorphoses. I'm in one right now again. I realize every time, even elevating my sense of power or becoming more empowered, how do you do that? To become more empowered, you have to shed the belief structures of I'm not worthy of power or I don't matter or maybe it's self-worth, whatever your thing is. But for me, I'm noticing the self-doubt skin, if you will, if it's a snake skin, is peeling off of me. It is so uncomfortable. It's so
Yes.
uncomfortable. But I know on the other end of it, I'm a stronger leader. I'm more embodied. I'm more relaxed. I'm more empowered. But I've got to go through that. So I heard something, I think it was last summer. I was going through another mini one. I was out of my kayak and I said, "What is this now?" And I was just speaking out loud into the
Yeah.
universe. I go, "God, what are you doing now? Like, what's happening?" And I heard it like a chant for 3 days. You're moving through the eye of the needle. You're moving through the eye of the needle. It went over and
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And I
Yeah.
finally realized, oh, that's the metamorphosis because your ego can't come with you, that false self, that
No.
skin as you're moving through the eye of the needle, gets peeled off. And that's the uncomfortableness of it all.
Hey, sis, if you've done all the things, journaled, meditated, manifested, but something still feels off, it might be time to stop chasing and start magnetizing. The Magnetic Woman Facebook group is a free space where you'll learn the real tools to shift your frequency, align with your purpose, and attract from your feminine power. It's not just information, it's embodiment. And you'll be surrounded by conscious, like minded women who are walking this path right beside you. Come join us. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes. I'll see you in there.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for sharing because I think one of the most destructive beliefs that people have, especially women who are really stepping into service and into their divine mission, is that there's a level that they will reach where they have it all figured out and then only then can they be impactful and healing. And it
Yeah.
is such a lie. It is such a lie.
Yeah.
And any true teacher who is worth their weight in gold and who is going to actually move you forward is going through the work too and will continue to go through the work. But the difference is they show up for it. And the difference is also they share it, that they don't try to show up as this perfect, I am holier than thou, I've got it all figured out, but they're willing to take you along with the journey. And I know that you are a mentor and a guide for so many because you're willing to share your journey. And because all of a sudden now it's attainable, it's accessible. And I think that that is so important. And I think what you mentioned about identity is also key because oftentimes I know you and I were sharing last year together, like, what some of our goals are, and they're big. Like, we don't
Mhm.
ask for small things. We ask for major things. We ask for big elevation. We ask for big abundance because we know that in doing so, it will also expand our impact and what we're here to do. But be careful what you wish for because guess what? How are you going to get there? And I think the lottery is the perfect example. Someone can win the lottery and they lose it because they haven't actually embodied the identity of someone who could hold that level of wealth. So they're going to return back to what their identity, what their belief system is about themselves. And so for those of you listening, I want you to really ground into what have you asked for? Like, what is that dream
Mhm.
and that vision that you're creating in 2026? And is it possible that you could perceive what's happening in your life through the lens of this is an answered prayer? Like, this is a step forward. This is not a step back. Because on the other side of all going through these things, I can hold that identity of the person who can be this or do this or have
Mhm.
this. And I know that this was a big part and big inspiration for you creating Metamorphosis. So I would love for you to go a little bit deeper into what people can expect from this incredible 3-day event that you're planning and what they ultimately will gain.
Yeah. This event is for people that are going through a metamorphosis and they may or may not know it. And it's funny, I just got an email from a girl the other day that was in one of my events a year ago. And she said, I don't know what's happening. And this I've heard from so many other women too. Why is it that I'm not sure about this relation, my marriage, and I think I want a job? I don't know what's happening. It's for that person. It's for the person that knows that they're here for more, that they're in the middle of something or they're on the threshold. They're in the threshold of walking through it and they're like, what is happening? We have to shed, just like we talked about today, the old identity in order to become the new us.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with, like, just affirmations in general. Just, "Oh, I'm worth $1,000,000," or "I'm worth 500,000." It's all mental, and it's just in the mind. It has to become a full-bodied yes, or a full-bodied thing that you're going for, whether it's the relationships, even as simple as setting a boundary, shedding the skin of codependency, whatever the heck it might be. This event is for the people that are ready for or in the middle of going through a metamorphosis, that are standing on the threshold of becoming more of their true self. Like I said earlier, I don't like to say it's their new self. We were born as the true self and we got covered up. So as we shed the layers, that's what's happening right now. And it's happening really fast, as you well
Yeah.
know, Anniston.
Yeah.
I'm like, didn't I just go through this a few months ago? It's like I'm in it again, dang it. But so this event is, again, I'm going to go through a lot of nervous system regulation. Like, how do we move through it with safety, with grace, with less anxiety? Because it can be a lot of anxiety. How do we go through it in community? And that's the big thing, too. I've realized people need others around them so you don't
Yeah.
feel so alone. But the promise of the weekend is of course, I'll be giving people lots of tools. We go through a lot of my live events are very, very experiential. You will move a lot of that energy off of you over the course of 3 days, 100%. But you'll leave with a lot of tools, and you will leave with layers of skin that have been shed. I do a lot of experiential, more intense work. I love it. Yeah, so that is the promise of the weekend. People can find it at theadultchair.com/live event.
Yep.
And any one of your audience members that would like to attend, I want to give them $200 off. And they just use the promo code Anniston for the $200 off.
Beautiful. Well, I am doing everything I can to rearrange my life to try to get there as well. So, for anyone listening, come hang out with me. I would love to spend some time with you. But I do want to reiterate something that you said in terms of speed, because I think we are moving into a time where we can move through things quickly, where things used to take a long time, things can be sped up. But immersing yourself, number one, is key. Number two, getting out of your environment, like getting into a new environment, will create the space for you to bring in the new. It is very hard, I think, and can take longer when you're trying to muscle this on your own and you're trying to create change where nothing else in your external reality has changed. You're still sitting on the same couch where you were feeling like a victim yesterday, and yet you're trying to feel like a victor today. That's very difficult. And number three, community. And the future is community. And when you
Mhm.
can get around people and you can leverage the energetic resonance of people who are all going in, your experience is deeper. Those that have a hard time maybe quieting their mind will find, I don't know why I can quiet my mind so easily. Why? Because you're around other people who are doing it. And so you're
Exactly.
being able to leverage from their experience level. So I just wanted to give, like, if you're thinking about this, it's in Charlotte, right? So
Yep.
Charlotte's super easy to get to for those of you that are stateside and for those of you that are international, because to get a direct flight into Charlotte is pretty easy. And the energy will be very ripe. We're going to be in eclipse season, which is all about eclipsing out all of the things that need to be eclipsed and revealing things that have been hidden. So well timed, my friend, well timed. And we will link all of that in the show notes. And so I am so excited for you. I'm excited for the change and the metamorphosis that you'll be creating for everyone else. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show and your time and your energy and your love. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, thank you. It was an honor.
And for everyone listening, I see you, I love you, and I will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for being here, beautiful soul. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to pass it along to another woman who might need these words today. And if you feel called, it would mean so much if you would take a moment to rate and review this podcast. It's one of the best ways to support this work and help these messages reach more women who are ready to remember who they are. And if you'd like to stay connected or share what's landing for you, come find me over on Instagram. I'd love to meet you there. Until next time, keep trusting your rhythm, keep honoring your voice, and keep becoming the woman you were always meant to be.